Hey guys, and welcome to today's Frick Programming. I'm actually not going to be teaching you anything today. I'm actually going to be talking about challenges today. So I think so far we've learned enough to start going into a bit of challenging work. Now, the website that I use for this is CodeSignal. You can use CodeSignal to go on and challenge yourself to many different types of things. They have a daily challenge, such as the array max consecutive sum 2, and then they have also other challenges that you could do every single day. But they also do have a section of the arcade. And in the arcade, we can go in and do intro, we can do core, databases, Python, and graphs. So these are just going to be challenges that will pop up, and they range usually from easy to difficult on each section. So we're going to take a dive in today and go over some of the solutions for some of these. So I go into intro, and since where we are currently, I would say let's just do the entire journey begins. So I'm just going to go and can I reset it? Reset the file all the way to the beginning. So in this, we'll see up at the top left corner that the difficulty of this is easing. We're going to be doing some code writing, and it's worth 300 challenge points. And it says, write a function that returns the sum of two numbers. And if you look inside, we're in C#. Let's switch this to Java. So we're going to see in our IDE, main.java class, and it says it's saved. This is saying that we have it saved. And then we'll see the method that we have to fill out. We have to fill out this add method. And to what extent do we have to fill it out? Well, on the left side, we'll see we have to write a function that returns the sum of two numbers. And they give us an example. If param1 equals 1 and param2 equals 2, the output should be 3. So I know something that I haven't taught yet is methods with return types. And this goes really hand in hand with these challenges because every single method is going to need you to do a return type or going to need you to print something out to the console. We've already done printing out to the console, but we need to talk about return types because this is how their system works. Their system works on return types. So we have our method is an integer method, which means it's going to want a return type of an integer. And all we need to do is to make sure that we return an integer is use the keyword return. So we can return, and what we're supposed to return for this is the sum of two numbers. Well, we get the two numbers from our parameters, so we're just going to return param1 plus param2. And then at the end, you can hit the run tests to run the test that they show you. And we've passed 6 out of 6 simple tests. And you can see that with these individual check marks, and you can run the test individually too. And then if you think you're all done, you can just hit submit. And it says it's correct, and we can move on to the next one. So let's move on to the next one. So usually it gives you a next button, but since I've already completed these, it's just bringing us back. So again, I'm going to restart this. And so now we have a method called century from year into year. Given a year, return the century it is in. The first century spans from year 1 up to including the year 100. The second, 101, including the year 200. So what we would need to do is we'll take the integer of the year and we're going to actually modulus it. So I'm going to create another integer, int cent, short for century, and I'm just going to take cent equals year modulus 100. Basically, I'm going to divide it by 100 and take the remainder. Actually, I should probably just divide by 100. I'll get an integer, and from this, I'll know if the year begins what the year begins with. So we know the guaranteed restraints are year 1 to year 2005. So we can take that into account. Now, actually, let me make this a double. If I make this a double, then I can tell if I have decimal points. if cent is greater than year divided by 100, then I'll return a int typecasted cent plus 1. Else, return cent. Or I'll return an integer of cent. Integer typecasting. So what I'm basically doing here is I'm typecasting. Basically, I have it in one primitive type and I want to make it a different primitive type that's roughly the same primitive type. Since doubles and integers are numerical values, except that a double has floating points values compared to integers and having floating point values. If I typecast it to an integer, I'm truncating my decimal point values, meaning I'm just getting rid of them. They mean nothing to me. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be getting rid of them. So if I hit run test, we'll see, how close am I to actually getting the correct answer. Not very close. Let's see. So I got expected output 19, or I got the output of 19 when my expected output should have been 20. So in this, let's see if I were to run through my code, given the year 1905, let's see, I make cent equals year divided by 100, so I get 19.05. Cent is greater than year divided by 100, which is true. So I should return cent plus 1. So I should return 20. Oop, I hit submit. I did not want to hit submit. If I run tests, this should pass test 2. It doesn't pass test 1. So some debugging that you can do is you can do system.out.print lines, and I want to print out my century that I have. So we print out our century, and it'll tell us exactly what we're actually going to be comparing in this later section. That's why. So it's not actually giving us all the decimal places. We're only giving one of the decimal places. So we have to think of this in a different fashion. If we were getting all the decimal places, I think my code would actually work. But since we're not getting all the decimal places, I don't think my code actually works. So what we can do is do this. Let me actually delete all my code and rethink of this in a different fashion. So let's make my front year, which would equal year divided by 100. And let me make my back year equal year modulus 100. So if you don't know what I'm doing, let's make a comment. So you have year, and how I'm splitting this up is my front year is equivalent to year. Actually, let me explain this a little better. So as you can see, you have 4 digits for the year, 4 possible digits. Your front year, in my situation, are the front 2 digits. So this should return front 2 digits. If I divide by 100, I truncate the decimal places, I get 2 front digits. If I take a modulus, which is the same thing as division, but I don't care about how many times I divide, I care about the remainder. This should return us back 2 digits, the 3rd and 4th digit of the year. So if back year is greater than 0, then front year plus plus. If front year Year would be 1, so a front year equals 0. This is a check for equivalences. Then I return 1. Else, return front year. So basically I'm saying, if back year cannot find symbol. Yes. Everything is case sensitive in programming languages. So what I'm saying here is if my back year is greater than 0, meaning that I'm already in the century, then I would need to up the actual century 1. I'm saying that my front year is considered the same as the century that I'm going to be returning. And if I'm saying that my front year is equal to 0, meaning that I'm in the year 1 to 99, I'm in century 1. So I'm going to just return 1. Which I guess front year would actually equal. So actually, let's just return front year in this situation. Because if front year equals 0, back year has to equal something. Back year would automatically increment front year to 1. Therefore, I can just return the front. Otherwise, I'm really just doing the same code. So that actually passes all situations. So I'm just going to hit submit and see where this gets us. And we're correct. So we can continue on to the next lesson. So if we hit back, or the next challenge actually, and check palindrome. So, this one is a little bit more confusing. So what we have here is we have an input string. So given the string, check if it's a palindrome. A palindrome is if it is the same string frontwards and in reverse. So a non-empty string, true if input string is palindrome, false otherwise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another string, reverse string, equals input string dot reverse. They do not have that. So what's one thing I can do is I can do this. I can take a reverse string, or I can make string reverse string equals input string dot I guess I'd have to make it a char, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and make it into a character array. Then I'm going to take this character array, reverse string equals reverse string dot array dot reverse. So I guess I have to rethink how I'm going to do this. So what you can do in this situation is I can go character by character trying to see, does this make sense? I can create another string. So I actually will create another string. So string reverse character or reverse string. And I'm going to set it equal to nothing current. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into I equals 0. I'm going to loop through the other string. Input string actually equals input string dot length I greater than or equal to 0. I minus. Input string dot length -1, because if you ever do a length of a string, you actually get the human readable version. You don't get the start at 0 position version or base 0 version. You get the one that we always think of, it's 1 plus something. It's not 0 plus something. So you always get 1 more than you need. So if I'm just doing int I, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this into it. So reverse string plus equals input string dot char at, and I'm going to say at I. Then if reverse string dot equals input string, return true, else return false. So let me go over what I'm actually doing in this situation. So first we create a string. This string will hold the reverse of the input that we get to check to see if it's a palindrome. And what I'm doing is I'm then going in character by character, looping through the string that we were given and adding that character to the reverse string. I'm starting at the end of the input string that I'm given and adding it to the new string that I'm creating. I'm not getting rid of the old string that we got. I'm just taking its part and duplicating it into another string. Then I'm checking equality. Now, the reason why I'm using the dot equals compared to the equals equals is that strings are not actually a primitive type. They are a class. As we see, the string class represents a character of strings. That means it is a string class. And in order to compare equality in string classes is to use the dot equals method or the dot compare to method if it imports or inherits from or implements the IComparable class interface. Since I don't really want to use that because it's roughly the same thing, but dot equals is a little bit faster and actually makes a little bit more sense to human readable eyes, I'm going to use the dot equals class. And this is just going to check to see if the reverse string object is the exact same as the input string object. So the way we're going to do this is now we're going to run our test to see if what we have is correct. Now we do have to take into consideration the execution time limit. Now the execution time limit really comes into play when you start doing more complex items. Now we're using a for loop here. This has a complexity of n. Whatever we pass into it, n length, so the length of the string, that is considered our n. Whatever we pass into it, our code is going to take n time to complete itself. That is the complexity of our code. Anytime that we are passing in 1, we basically say, yeah, our code's instantaneous. But we're passing in n, so our code will take n time to compute. But we were able to pass all 10 classes or 10 tests, so we can submit to see if we pass all the hidden tests as well. And we have. So we've done it. We've passed 10 hidden tests. Therefore, we got a score of 300 out of 300. Now, this is where I'm going to stop for today. But if you guys would like to continue on with doing challenges and challenging yourself, I highly advise going to codesignal.com to do these challenges. There are challenges every single day, but you can also go into the arcade to go do challenges. Also, on this website, you can actually try to go against. You could compete in tournaments, but you can also try to see your hand at coding for companies. Companies do challenges on here, or they produce challenges on here that you can go and try to do. The more challenges that you can complete, you can put these on your resume to say, hey, I'm good enough to complete these challenges from these companies. And you can use that for your resume to go get yourself a job in this industry and in this field. But anyway, you guys have a good day.